Okay, let's go.
Okay, so here we are at the beginning of Apprehension. Starting off with a fresh trick, 2 grenades. One to hurt Barney, to get him out of the scripted state. And then a second one to scare him. And this is to make him closer to the center of the map, to easier reach his gun later. And then this part is simply a copy from my old TAS, but the input is mirrored to go on this left side to collect the battery. So making this boost as early as possible, but still slipping under the ceiling up here. And also minimizing the damage. 20 FPS to reach the lever sooner. And now I'm starting to move and jump to make this jump as early as possible, but still make it out of the edge here to start this fall as soon as possible. And many of these parts are using the optimizer. The optimizer is a brute forcing tool where you enter constraints and where you want to maximize your position in the given amount of frames. So here is the original path, and then when I enter my constraints, it optimizes closer to the edge here and closer to the corners around here. And during this fall I shoot Barney 2 times. Since he is damaged before of the grenade, 2 shots is enough in the back. 1, 2, then he's dead. Switching to the assault rifle and quick saving. And here I shoot the grenade in the ceiling here, between the boxes in the ceiling, to make a nuke. And the nuke being a full damage in the full damage radius, which is enough to break the boxes here with the hand grenades. And during this slide here I start to crouch, so when I reach the port I am totally crouched. And then make a standing full object boost duck tapping into the trigger room. Low FPS, in and out of the room. So I'm triggering the stripper, but not the teleporter. So my weapons are gone, but I can still move freely. So during this sequence I move back to collect as much weapons as I can. Starting with a trip mine. And save loading to be able to object boost instantly. Collecting hand grenades. And also I'm using this box here as a shield, because behind Barney here there's a ninja standing, ready to shoot at any given moment. So it could be a tiny bit faster without having the box in this at this side of me all the time. So here I'm collecting the handgun, save loading again. And here you can see the ninja for a tiny frame. Here maximizing the amount of health from the charger, and then a calculated amount from the armor charger to 38. And meanwhile I toss a grenade behind me, both to scare another ninja and to break the pushable box later. So there I made a last object boost, breaking the box, duck tapping, to have a nice falling timing under the port here. And I use a longer frame time to land on the other side of the port, to not lose any friction. And once I'm back here, I can use the charger for the rest of the time left of the timed sequence. So this part of the first map turned out 1 second faster than my old TAS from 2020. And most of it is because the route up to the lever. Here is a comparison. So I still picked the battery, but turned out faster anyway. So this route here was mostly guesswork. So as you can see, I'm already falling down towards my way to the port. here when this lever is done. So for this part here, I took help from Just Can to script some music. Super Mario, the Witch Doctor. The script looks like this. But unfortunately, I ran into a, I think, frame time remainder desync at the end of questionable FX. So for the final script, it's not included in the script file. So it's simply spamming the slot 5 key. So you want frequency and duration to make melodies. And also using this for a second rhythm tune. Moving on. During this entire scene, I'm holding the hand grenade. So once I spawn at the end of the sequence, I can release it. I release it as soon as possible after I touch the ground here. No, I release it just before to keep my falling velocity to the grenade, to put it further away to get minimum damage. So just before I land, I release it, and then I stand up, duck jump. And also pitch up to take less damage. So this is pretty much the minimal damage to get up, and also get around this invisible wall here. And this map here saves about 2 seconds. And that's because the old TAS used the trip mine, which has a 2.5 second delay before being solid to climb on it. And you can see I'm not landing on the funk train, and you must be standing on it in order to use it. So just before I land, I use a longer frame time to move from here to there without any ground friction. And then I use it with 0 ms frames, I think 4 forward presses. So now it's already in fastest motion. And while it moves, I'm collecting the crowbar and position myself at the highest point to make a crouch jump up in the ceiling to maximize my falling speed down into the hole. There, touching the ceiling. And 1000 FPS frame perfect timing with this braking box here. And here I'm using the 2 slanted angles here to partly remove my falling speed, converting it into horizontal speed. So the old TAS used a wall bug, being stuck just at the bottom here, and then simply strafing to gain speed. But this one collides 1 and 2 times, getting I think 600 speed. 1, 2 times, 650. So the initial speed here is much greater than the old TAS. And then also gain the funk pushable speed. So this map here turned out 0.75 faster. And that's almost only because the faster speed out the pipe. And another thing out the pipe here. Half-Life 21 braked here to get underneath the trigger. And then duck tapping to use it many times. But in the TAS, it's simply not worth it to brake, because braking takes a lot of time, and then the push trigger, pushing only forward. So you can't keep the speed in this turn here. So it's simply faster to just maximize the air strafing and get the push later. Also getting a slow boost to take the closest path possible. 20 FPS to turn the valve a bit sooner. And now it's simply waiting for the silo to sink. Here making a wall bug to avoid full damage. Lining up just side by this edge here. And starting crouching, and just when I crouch totally, I'm inside the hole, able to jump. So only losing a few units per second. And then using the optimizer. And inside this pipe, I'm using longer frame times to move my jump pattern, because I want to stand up here as soon as possible to get this standing jump inside the piped ceiling. I want to fall as soon as possible. So the speed is not important, but I want to start to fall as soon as possible, because that's the cap at this point. So making a shortcut jump on Barney. And here's time for some water clipping. So if the push ball is in water, you can use it from the air. So I partly start using it from the air, but I want to wait until I get into the water level 2. So I'm building some speed here, and when I get into water level 2, I make 0 ms frames for the final object boost. So once I'm underwater, I use 57 0 ms frames, and then one frame of 200 fps. And end up just in the corner here. And also I duck tapped on this edge here, because I want some extra falling speed, to have enough speed to have time to fall and land on this platform here. And to avoid fall damage, I use a longer frame time and stop with the use key. And then optimizer again to maximize my speed into the pipes here, using the ceilings to turn right here, landing on the edge to slide off and still being airborne down here. So having the path here, and just when out under the water, 0 ms boost. This direction here. So 233,000 UPS for one frame, and ending up here inside the world. And from here starting fall to this point. And here I start the hand grenade timer for the upcoming boost. Switching to handgun, breaking the box for medkit. And it's actually faster for me to get this medkit, because this high speed object boost turned out really great. So I drag this along with me. And I want it to collide with this pillar here. No, I did not want it to collide here, because I want it to slide inside this corner here. Because if it would collide here, I wouldn't be able to reach it. So it must come inside this part here. So with almost max speed, I duck tap on top of this here. And ducking close as fast as possible with the use key, and then instantly grabbing the box for a 0 ms boost upwards. So duck tapping on the belt to gain speed. Very nice. And here I start building the path to curve around, build maximum velocity into this direction here. And there, I release the grenade to be just above my head. Exploding now, just before the water surface. And then 2 20 FPS frames. One to break the water surface, and then when I'm just at the bottom, to water clip through the bottom and end up on the other side. And then use key instantly on the bottom to slide along. And Now it's time for another water clip. So I'm skipping the revolver, using hand grenades later. So I duck tap and then jump key to gain height, because I want to get up here as soon as possible. And when I'm over the push trigger, I start duck tapping using 0 ms frames, about, let's see, 60 times. To get 15,000 UPS. And then I use pretty short frame times, because I want to convert my speed vertically. So colliding here, having a speed of 3,000 instead of 6,000. And here a long frame time for the path to extend up here, spawning, getting this position here. And once I'm in air, I'm getting capped to 2K. Sliding up the belt. And here I'm using longer frame times to avoid fall damage. 1-2 times. Maximizing the turn just to getting through here. And now another new trick. Save buffering. So while I save with low FPS, the player advances, but not the entities. So once I get back from the load, I'm further forward, but not the presses. So 25 FPS frames to get through without waiting for any kind of cycle. And duck tapping in between to not lose any speed during the save loads. And another one here. Here, a slick route down to the belt. So I tried some different variations with this branch tool in BXT. So the thing is to start the fall as soon as possible, but still avoid fall damage. So I'm starting fall back here, just avoiding the edge here, falling all the way to the ramp here, and there. And from here I can make a normal jump to gain speed from the belt, and then duck tapping. This route here is landing and use braking to be able to turn fast enough. But jump bugging here doesn't get the speed boost from the belt. And same thing here, having to brake and jump to have enough time to turn around and make the edge bug here. So this route turned out far superior than others. So it's all about starting this fall as soon as possible. And falling as far as possible before landing. And duck tapping up here. And again, falling as soon as possible. So from here I'm just crouching to avoid the edge. Using this angle here to turn my speed this way. Jump bug. Get into the ceiling to start falling again, to get the belt boost once again. Low FPS to get by the laser. And here I'm making a longer path, because sliding up this belt was actually faster because the capped jump. So here I'm sliding with 800 instead of being capped to about 540 in the level below. So I think, let's see, it's around 0.1 seconds faster. Both my speed up here, and also once I reach this point here, I have greater falling speed to get down here faster, turning away to proceed earlier. So these jumps are capped all the way from here, but these aren't capped until at this point. And here I use a low FPS frames to slip through the press, and a edge bug to turn around, and then duck tap to gain speed again. Long frame time to land further out, to fall less before reaching the ladder. Low FPS frame to get in contact with the ladder and not being outside the ladder area. So I want to use my speed into the wall, to not having to walk it when I am upside. And optimizer in here, of course, getting around the corners as soon as possible. Since I'm not having the Magnum, the revolver, I want to use the grenade for the glass bottom. So in order to use it as soon as possible, I break the grill with the handgun. So I'm quick switching and save loading to be able to pull the pin here as soon as possible. Getting some health and releasing it with a good angle to get it fast to the bottom. So here's a quite special ladder exit. So I climb just at the edge of the ladder, of this area here. When I'm able to reach the edge, I jump to get the 270 jump speed from ladder. Turning to the edge, just being able to land crouched, and then standing to continue the strafe over here. Jumping and edge jumping on the hound eye before landing. So you can see I'm not even at my peak of the jump before I jump again. And then again a stand up edge jump on the box here. And then a manual crouch over the damage fence. So this path here is really slick. So while waiting for the doors to open, I go back to collect another 3 health points. Using optimizer for the hallway corners. Again, collecting a health point. Here I decided to not use Barney. I tried both with and without Barney, and they turned out to mess up more than he helped up there with these soldiers. Handgun to headshot. And there, I made a reset. And I reset to not get hit here. And also for his death animation to be a short one. If it turned out to be a long death animation, he would still be solid and block my path. But now he's gone and I can collect his MP5. Long frame time to trigger the door earlier. 20 FPS to trigger the button earlier. Jumping on the edge like this, and just being standing landing on this here to walk off for maximum acceleration. Getting these narcs for coming boosts and tricks. Low FPS. And here it's also a balance between low FPS and missed time from strafing. So I could make the path straight, but then I would lose time strafing, gaining speed. Here's a quite tricky long frame time, both turning and getting inside the doors. Just before this shot, I make another reset to get this trip mine explosion timing to be minimum. So this is just over 0.1 second before explosion. In worst case, it's almost 0.4. Here I make a save. I'm not sure how, but I figured it affected the alien grunts, because they won't hit me if I made this save. If I made without save, it would be a random hornet hit when circling around this path. So I'm collecting the trip mines and reloading gun, and waiting for the perfect timing to start this path. So this beginning here is simply to line up the later curves. So I want it for this last curve here to be just the maximum turning radius without colliding the walls. Here, here, or here. So this is just within reach without touching. So here about 1000 UPS and still accelerating. And frame perfect before the wall break here, up to almost 1100. Very tight. Zigzagging through. And again, optimizer. Skipping the scientist, of course, for upcoming new tricks. And again, optimizer up the stairs to keep as much full momentum as possible. And here, if you're fast enough to this trigger, it won't happen anything. So this sequence here is broken if you enter the trigger fast enough. Here, shooting the grenade, and quick saving for the grunt to stop at the specific point. So there, the explosion went off, and quick saving again to dupe his ammunition. And also it takes 0.3 seconds for the dupe to happen. So I actually haven't time enough to wait for all the grenades. So I choose to take a small detour for grenades in this box as well. So if I wouldn't save load the first one, he would stand in this doorway and block the path for both me and the box. So when he reached that point, I quick saved and his run path stopped. So I keep moving, collecting these cells, and collected the last ammunition, as well as these here. And also grabbing the shotgun from the other grunt. And save loaded to not interrupt the ABIC boosting. And here, another trick. I want to slide the box onto this loop before doing this final boost myself. So I tried with maximum velocity, but even touching the ceiling as soon as possible and max velocity, it would still sink to not get on top here. So I can make a slow boost here, waiting a tiny bit for it to slide up with a, let's see, 300 velocity. And then making the boost. So max boost then on the box, and then a good enough boost for myself, 700 and 780 set. So the box will get stuck on the edge here, and I use longer frame times to get the water skybox here. So I'm tossing a snark before grabbing the Gauss gun, and just after I use a longer frame time here, so that the snark will react and attack me sooner, so I can stop my duck tap cycle. And at the top I'm not duck tapping, but rather making 2 jumps to get over this level as soon as possible. And since the serve time is quite a lot, I can make a full quick Gauss boost. So now I want to get inside the water, and to be able to reach the box I must be crouched. So a long frame time to get through the water, crouching. And when I land, I make a use key stop and walk in this direction here. And I must be in water, so I walk just outside this edge here to be in water level 2 for this water clip to happen. So a bit boost, 150k UPS. And I must end up inside this square here with higher ceiling, because this height isn't enough. So I end up here, and once I'm not in water level 2 anymore, I will be capped to the max velocity, which is 2kx and 2ky. So diagonal in here. So I want to collide with this wall, and then this, to curve my speed around here. And as soon as I crash with this wall here, I make a Gauss boost. So about 1600 speed, and just getting under the sign here. And another Gauss boost for speed and turning to get around this corner here. And as soon as possible, bind the squid, another boost, to slide off here. And for this staircase, I tried some alternative with another Gauss boost, but it's all about falling as soon as possible. So about 900 speed with as few ground touches as possible. And I'm also in a cell budget. I could only spend about 7 cells, I think, from the pickup to the end of questionable FX. So once I get down, I use a longer frame time to avoid the fall damage. And another quick Gauss as soon as I'm around the corner. Long frame time into the trigger. Edge bug. Long frame time. So here comes a trick I can't fully understand myself. So I duck tap, up the staircase, and this ramp is actually there a tiny bit if you are crouched, but not when you are standing. So this is standing and this is crouched. So what I would think is I would get the boost upwards when colliding and then collide into the side of the step. But somehow that's not happening. I continue my airborne travel without colliding. So maybe it's some step size thing, not sure. Anyway, I also make a Gauss boost to slightly brake, I think in this direction here. So 1700 speed, colliding, and braking to 1500 to get this path here. And also just enough height from the slope to collide with this seeding here. Because I want to reach this point as soon as possible to start to fall as soon as possible. So again, the speed isn't important, but to reach the start of the fall as soon as possible. So another Gauss boost and quick switch to shotgun to break the glass. Start falling, switching to trip mine for this upcoming water clip. So I place it as soon as possible on this skybox wall, and I'm saving to get the save in air state, water level 0. Position myself just in the middle of the doors. Quick Gauss starting now. So once the trip mine becomes solid, the charge is being released. So here I'm stuck in water level 3 and getting the boost. And now I load the air state save to get into air state, thus being able to use the Gauss once again, quick Gaussing. So I'm stuck inside the trip mine in water, but I'm using the air state, so I'm not really in water anymore. Building my speed up to 9000. Actually, you only need about 8.2k. So once I get the 9000, I quick switch to crowbar to break the trip mine. Once the trip mine is broken, my air state turns to water, and with a high speed I can make a water clip with low FPS. So at the end of the frame, I'm inside at the other side of the doors and the next level trigger. And the last save I made was actually a reset to manipulate the timing of this trip mine. So the doors are covering the explosion for me, otherwise I would take damage. So I used a frame time of 0.048 to line up my position for the next script, because I already made the surface tension TAS, so I want the position to line up perfectly here. So at the very first frame, I'm inside the trigger for the next level to start. So this map saved about 10 seconds over Half-Life 21, skipping the scientist and everything. Oh yeah, if I would bring Barney with me, he would have been blocking the path here. And since I had this huge speed, there wouldn't have any chance for the grunts to hit me. So Barney wasn't for any help. So for this map, I had another idea for a more direct water clipping. So from the water, I had the idea to instantly get to this pipe here for a edge bug. But the speed after getting inside simply collided with the wall, with the ceiling, for about 50 damage. So it never turned out to be any useful. But I wasted many hours for it to happen. So the idea was to get inside this pipe, making a two-step object boost. The first one to get into the ceiling here, to get a negative falling speed. And then another one to get the speed horizontally, to get over here. So as you can see, first one here, XY 8000 and Z 3.4, and then using another rock to build momentum even more. So 40k and a frame time of 0.04, but unfortunately just landing inside the pipe for an instant death. Yep.